Mute me, Mike, because I'm going to take and open the YouTube.
And while Jim's getting muted, I'm going to say, hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. How's everybody doing tonight? So far, it's Jim and I. There's a chance that Sharenda and that stranger from Idaho, I think his name's Travis, might be joining us later. So we'll see. But for now, it's just Jim and I. Jim, are you good to go?
Sorry, I hit my mute button.
Ah,
Yeah. Hell, it sounds better if I unmute myself, right? Don't go there. Don't go there. You should have. Don't go there. Anyway, we have a pretty good question tonight, don't we?
Yeah, but first, what you been up to?
Saving money. I'd already told you. I'm not going to go into any kind of detail, but I got to do a major repair on my truck.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I got that news today, but got a little bit of looking and a little bit of exploration into a new program put out on Discord by Chris Sharpe. And I haven't looked at it. I've been to the screen. I haven't downloaded the software. But as I understand it, it's a database. If I understand it correctly, it's software that creates a database of your chrono readings. I don't think I'm going to try to figure out how to import directly from the chronograph itself. I don't mind if I can get it on my iPad, which I can get on Discord on my iPad. If I can get that chrono plotter to work on my iPad, I'll just input the data directly into it.
I don't think it will because it's not set up for iOS or Android.
Oh, so it's PC only.
PC and Mac.
Okay. Well, that's all right because I still have that spreadsheet that Steve McNall made for me for recording chronograph data. I can input it in there and just input it again into the PC if I like it. That's the thing. That's the big caveat to all these programs is whether or not you like doing all that double work, double inputting. For the PC, it's not really all that hard.
Yeah.
Because I input it into Google Drive from the iPad, and then I just simply copy and paste, etc.
Nice.
We'll see how easy it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been about it. Other than you answering questions, that I usually get probably usually get 1 or 2 or 3 reloading questions a week. I'm sure you get some too, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Probably never say anything about it.
No, not usually. A lot of mine are at work too, so. But,
Yep.
So yeah, I know Trumbo won't be joining us.
Okay.
I know Paul won't be joining us.
Right. I believe Nick said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He got
correct.
Work or something.
Yeah, Trumbo just texted me.
Tell him I said
he might join us.
He's still a slacker and a bum. But I hope he joins.
So yeah, he might be able to join us. We'll see.
That's right. He's 1 time zone ahead. He's on Rocky Mountain time now.
Yeah, well, he has the same problem that Paul does. They're both in the middle of moves.
Right.
Interstate moves and
losing your shit everywhere.
Yeah, so neither of them are set up. So, So I'm looking at what John's hand loading said. He said he's cooking, and he says he's cooking bacon in the oven in a pan for BLTs. His will be a salad with pepper jack cheese, diced dill pickles, and some other stuff. My boys will make sandwiches. Bacon.
Wow, we got a lot. My God, we got a lot of comments.
So, Living in the Prairie wants to know: does anybody reload shot shells in here?
That guy, right? The guy turned around. I'm pointing at him, but he won't own up to it.
Does this answer your question?
I see a mech machine. Ow! I see a mech reloading machine.
She needs to slap you harder next time.
Probably hurt her hand.
This is true. So,
living in the prairie. You got your answer right there on your screen. Look at it, Bubba. Mike, highlight yourself, please.
living in the prairie, what's your questions? Since we've got some time to kill here.
Elk blood, you'll pay for that someday. I'll put 5 grains more powder in your first recipe you ever asked for.
Blah, blah, blah.
Mike, didn't you have a giveaway you wanted to do tonight?
Actually, Mr. Sharpe has a giveaway that he wants to do, but we haven't figured out how exactly we're going to do it because we're still way behind on the audio podcast. So, we were going to kind of mention that. Echo, if you want to join, I'll send you the link. So, anyway, let me get this back out of my way.
Let us know Echo's reloading chamber.
Now that's a funny handle.
Yeah.
CIA Holdings LLC.
That's a spooky handle.
Hey, bologna sandwiches, don't sell yourself short. Fried bologna is awesome.
Echo, you going to join us? Jeez, Mike. Why don't you just flood the channel?
Well, that's what happens because it comments on everything.
I know. You in the wrong truck stop, Echo Elk Blood. I think we've gotten our answer.
So, let's see here.
How about you, John Sandloading? You want to join us? I know you're out there.
I don't know. Do we want to send Sharpe the link? That could be dangerous.
I've spoken at length with Sharpe. Go ahead, send him the link. Go ahead. What the hell? We need. Hey, you know what? We're done to the point we're getting desperate. We're letting Sharpe on the air.
Dope. Anyway. I was trying to find. There we go. So Spud Band joined us. Andy79Z28 joined us. Living in the Prairie said been reloading a lot of shot shells lately. Can't find bird shot here. Can't find bird shot anywhere. So I don't know. The one thing that I haven't seen. Howdy.
Hello, hello.
There's a smartass if I ever saw one.
Better than being a dumbass.
This is true, but my wife might say different one on the other one.
So. Nice to meet you, Chris. It's nice to put a face.
Yeah, it is.
The smart ass you got.
But yeah, I mean the biggest problem right now is shot shells. Period. I don't know if that's specifically related to the fact that I have only seen like 5,000 209 primers since January come in for sale.
You got nailed by Paul Loud and then to Tom Peterson. You need to put up you need to put something over that so people can't see what you got.
See, that's why my powder's up there, off camera.
Yeah, we're talking to you, Chris. Unmute yourself.
I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing is primers. You can't find 209 primers, and that's kind of an important thing. So Chris, it's actually very appropriate that you're joining us because this actually will be important because it's your question.
Real quick, Jim, all that stuff is from the manufacturing side of the business, so I can sell it. And it's already spoken for, so.
Good. Good.
So.
Chris, what'd you do this week in Guns Reloading besides hoard all the powder in the USA?
I wish I could keep it all. I mean, I could technically where it's from the business, but I'm taking care of people. Fine. I know. All I really did this week was, as Mike's going to talk about the question, I went, did some loaded some rounds up for the 300 PRC, getting ready to go out hopefully this weekend for elk, and kind of ran across interesting situation. And then other than that, just took in a couple firearms, do some Cerakoting on for some people.
Question for you. Tell me about the cartridge 300 PRC. What's the parent case for it? First off, you muted yourself.
I'm trying to remember.
Is it like a 30-06 base case? Is it a 300 Win Mag? Is it 300 Rum?
Like before, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Give me 1 second. Let me grab my
375 Ruger. Don't bother. I think Jorgen Reagan gave it to us. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. See there, we got to pay attention to the crowd once in a while.
Anyway, that's a good start. Good cartridge to start with.
You bet. That's a good oversized cartridge. Is it a belted cartridge?
No, that was the nice thing when they developed that. They got rid of the belt on it. It's a pretty nice little cartridge. I mean, when the reloading information first came out, Hornady did their normal little PDF that they put out a couple, and they only had it for the 212 and 225 grain bullets. But on the latest manual, they've gone everywhere from 150 grains all the way up to 250 grains with the A-tips. So you've got a very wide spectrum of bullet selection. So you could actually tailor around for everything from coyote all the way up to the largest anything in North America, pretty much.
Okay.
I was just curious if the 375 Ruger was a standalone, which it is, and I didn't know that. But
it's a parent cartridge all unto itself. A little closer, Chris. I see you got almost got a nice Ackley shoulder on it. Thank you.
Now everybody's going to be scarred for life because I'm on the main screen.
Anyway, so tell me more about the cartridge.
Let me grab my data book.
Right, that's what I was going to say. What kind of bolt? Where you starting out with? What kind of velocity? What kind of speed you running at?
That one right there, I started out because it's mainly a target rifle. I do use it for hunting. It's in a chassis. I started out with the 225 grain match bullet. I've done some experimentation with Berger's 220s, which they came out for it. I've shot the 220s, 212 EDLXs out of it. The latest velocity I've had, which will be part of that question, is I was averaging about 32.48, and then went out this week, and it jumped almost 100 feet per second with no changes in anything I've done.
32.48, 25.48,
28.48. Sorry.
28.48.
And now I'm at 29.42.
Did you take into account temperature difference?
Temperature, like I was telling Mike, basically the question I had was when I was watching one of the other channels, bolt action reloading. The question was how/if humidity would affect your velocity on where we store our powders, not the actual atmospherics outside. Because when I went out and shot, it was only about maybe 5 degrees difference from when I originally did my load development. Same place I went, do all my load development, so there wasn't a change in elevation. I looked at the other atmospherics; they're all basically the same. Humidity level it's been extremely dry since I shot outside because we're in a drought up here, but we've had a little bit of humidity change within the house. So they actually discussed that in his videos, and even went into another gentleman's more in-depth testing on it as to if the humidity level on where we actually store from when we first load to when we load again, will that actually change? And they've recognized up to 200 feet per second change. So I was kind of asking Mike, has anybody on the panel ever experienced this firsthand? Because I'm at a loss on to what caused that significant of a jump when everything else was basically the same. No change in lots of the powder or the primers. No change in seating depth, nothing.
Well, the only response I got is like you're working with a sealed cartridge. It's airtight. It's watertight. It's limited. I realize it does. Air can possibly incursion into it, but it's sealed from the primer end. It's sealed from the bullet end, and you don't use any kind of sealant on it, like lacquer or nail polish or anything like that. Anything ridiculous like that. But
Nope.
Elkblood's got a comment. He says he's seen it. He thinks he's seen it with H100, H4831.
And that's what I'm using. Elk Blood is H1000.
Well, Elkblood, if you can elaborate a little bit, that would sure help for the good of the cause. No, what I'm saying is like storing the ammo. If you have it in an airtight box, and then the cartridge itself is an airtight unit, I don't have an answer. This is a way definitely above my pay grade.
And that's why I kind of posed it to Mike when I sent him the question, because on the information that that channel did on YouTube, and when you go and read that article that he talks about, I mean, the data is there. It kind of shows that, they've got all the different humidity levels, and they've actually done testing where they have the dehumidifiers, all that stuff, and you can see the changes on the graph. So it's like the science kind of says it leans that way, but I've never personally experienced it.
Understood.
So I'm on the link you sent me in the email for the Chronoplotter blog. The one thing I can't find out is who Chronoplotter is, but I honestly I'm not to the point in my reloading, in my hand loading, where this would make a difference. Yeah, Echo's reloading chamber. I'm putting I was trying to find a way to message him and it didn't work. So yeah, send me an email. So I'm like I said, I'm not to the point in my hand loading where I would have the results to be able to verify this. So But I'm looking at the blog, and whoever they are, they're obviously somebody that's deep in the reloading world, because it seems to have Brian Litz in their contact circle.
Wow.
So he's quoting Brian Litz. Said once you break the seal on a jug, the powder starts to acclimate to whatever your environmental ambient humidity is. That'll change a great deal the way it burns. Because what they're saying is when they ship a powder from the factory, they have a specific humidity level in mind for that powder. And so this, I'll put the link in the show notes for this one because this is really good. Lots of good information. Talking about an article that was in the Norma Reloading Manual Expanded Edition called Powder also. But they're saying that, gunpowder is, smokeless powder especially, is hygroscopic, which means it collects and expels water, which is why if you get wet powder, it's like, meh. But you can dry it. And that's, there's a lot of out there that, we've seen a lot of powder that's temperature sensitive compared. So humidity would make a difference too, in my mind, when Chris sent me the question, but I didn't have anything to back it up. But I was kind of hoping that Paul Loud would be able to either answer this one or join us. But unfortunately, like I said, he's in the middle of moving. So.
You mean Paul Nelson?
Paul Nelson. Dun, dun, dun. So they're mentioning about one of Brian's videos. Nah, that's dangerous. We don't want the kid from Maine.
We'll put Sharpe and Loud in the same room. Oh my God!
Forget I was born and raised in Maine, so.
Oh, you were? Well, that
Yeah.
explains a lot. Well, that explains a lot then. All right.
But looking at Jorgen's little comment, that's something they did bring up, Jorgen, was in that testing, the actual powder did change with the humidity going. The powder actually absorbed some of that humidity. That's when they saw the velocity decrease because the weight actually changed.
So Echo will be joining us shortly. He sent me the email. I sent him the link. But so in Chronoplotter's blog, he says, I stumbled on the topic of powder humidity almost by accident. In June, I flew to Wyoming to compete in the Night Force CLR, where I learned during my applied ballistics PDM that my 6.5 Creedmoor load was clocking in a full 54 feet per second slower than I expected. I chronoed my load at 2786 some months prior with a lab radar, and a change of this degree was shocking. My stock Tikka barrel wasn't nearing the end of its life yet, with only 1,400 rounds through it. And while Wyoming's environmentals are different from Massachusetts, hotter, drier, higher density altitude, those differences should lend to the load being faster. He then wondered if the plane trip had somehow had an effect on the ammo, or maybe he hadn't fouled his barrel properly leading up to the PDM. After returning home, however, I loaded a fresh batch of rounds and confirmed this was, in fact, my new velocity, not just a fluke. So after his PDM, he got a chance to talk to Brian Litz about the discrepancy, and he immediately suggested powder humidity could have played a role.
Well, in a sense, thinking from a common sense point of view, in a sense, if the powder is attracting moisture from the minute you go and seal the canister, all the way up to you use the last grain, last kernel of it, if it's attracting moisture, well, you're trying to burn moisture, well, molecules on a molecular level is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Water vapor is what we're actually collecting. It kind of makes sense because the stuff won't burn under ordinary conditions. Water doesn't burn. Even water vapor doesn't burn.
So he's talking about one of Brian Litz's applied ballistics videos, which is powder humidity, temperature, and storage.
Chris, there's pickup on Elkwood's comment 8:33 p.m. I believe as long as you know where your velocity node is, you can get back in tune with minor tweaks in powder charge regardless of humidity, is what I came to conclude. I think that's your answer, Chris. I think that's the solution to your problem. As long as it's safe pressure, that's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, when it spiked that much, that first shot when I was shooting off over the magneto speed, I stopped and I just dug out the reloading book because I wanted to double check, and I had no pressure sign. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy with the extra velocity. I've still got, I think it was 7.4 on the SDs, which jumped a little bit, but not much. So I'm happy, not complaining. It just caused for concern why I saw that much of a swing.
Okay.
And Mike, I believe the chronoplotter guy's name is that Michael Copolis, the one I put in that email.
All right. So Elkblood said this theory has worked in my dashers as well as my FTR rifle. So if theoretically you can add humidity, then you should be able to subtract it. But I don't know how you would measure. That's the problem. I mean, do you just throw it in the dehydrator and away you go?
I don't know if that'd be sensible.
Oh, it's not going to be hot enough to hit the ignition.
No, I didn't mean it that way. You may actually go below the factory set humidity. That's what I'm trying to say. Increasing the energy that is in your powder.
So as I'm scrolling down, they used Boveda humidor packs. And what those are essentially desiccant packs that go in with your cigars. And so they took 5 jars of powder and set them off to the side and checked via a Kestrel program. So.
And to answer Elkbuck's comment, I've only got about 330 rounds through that rifle.
Elkbud's comment was actually how many rounds are on your 300 PRC tube?
Yeah, not many at all. I've been shooting that Lapua a lot more.
We do this, Chris, for our listening audience, our audio listeners. Yeah, because it's easy to forget this is really not a video medium, even though that's what we use to record the show.
Yeah, forget that.
No, it's not a problem. You don't have no apology needed or necessary. I try to do that as often as I can.
Oh, looks like he's got he's got the same scale that Paul Nelson does.
And in reference to Elk Blood's comment, if it's basically a brand new barrel, basically about 100, 150 rounds is that break-in point where you will usually see a speed increase on the barrels or your rounds. I thought that too. And so when I hit about that 160 round mark, I did chrono and I didn't see a change. So where I'm up to that 330, I was like, okay, I know not every barrel is the same. I'm thinking that too, but I just happened to see that video and it made me go, is this a possibility? Because it's been extremely dry in the last year. I know the humidity level has changed around here. So I was like, is it a possibility? Good question. I don't know.
So Jorgen's question is it absorbed water changing the amount of powder per charge weight, or is it the presence of water in powder during combustion that causes a discrepancy?
Phrased that way, I would say the answer is yes to both.
Yeah, I would say that would be a yes. I live in Florida, and when I get down to the bottom of a bottle 1 pound jug of Argot, I notice less fill in the case, because I'm looking at so many at the where you see the powder go up to the shoulder, and you start to see it not go as high up for the same charge weight. And I'm also losing about 50 to 60 feet per second consistently across the chrono.
So somebody, I think it was Jorgen, had an idea about, yeah. So Jorgen said it could be wrong. Well, you're Canadian, so you're automatically wrong. But you could try using a volumetric charge to combat this issue. Find the right least scoop or set a powder measure appropriately and re-verify your powder charge by volume. Theoretically, I don't know if it's I don't think it's going to combat it completely, because you're still looking at the powder burn rate changing because of the amount of moisture in the powder. But I suspect the variance in the powder charge you could fix, because you're going by volume instead of weight. So you're going to consistently have the same amount of volume in the case. So I guess we're just going to have to we're all going to have to get some big ass humidors and store all of our powder in there now. Dang it.
Well, there's the other consideration too when you're talking long-term storage, is the chemistry. Does the chemistry of the powder actually change? Does it begin to degrade from the day it's actually made? It's possible it could be a combination of everything we've talked about. Sort of like black magic.
No, because we can trace everything. It's just a matter of having the testing equipment, which we obviously don't, but there's other people that do and have that can tell that. Now, Echo being in Florida, he could have humidity changes daily in his reloading room. I mean, you could have 30, 40% easily in Florida, especially say he's, if he lives in one of the areas where they get the lovely afternoon regular showers.
Yep.
And then the humidity drops off by 30 or 40% after the shower comes through. I mean, he could literally, if say he doesn't have central air, which I don't know why you would live in Florida without central air, but I suppose if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But if you didn't have an air controlled room to be able to control the humidity, I mean, it's entirely possible you could have, you could start making up 100 round load in the morning and go from there. Lord knows these powder tubes aren't sealed in any way, shape, or form. So it's not like this is airtight in here on my 550 or anything like that, or most of the other ones. So, it's not like, or the one sitting behind me here, we know for a fact that's not on the Lee. We know for a fact that's not, any sort of air tightness. I would think that the Dillon design would probably lend itself a little more to, and similar ones like that, or if you're using a powder dropper. But I can't see them not being affected by sitting out, which is one of the reasons I'm sure why powder manufacturers tell you to not leave powder sitting. So Mac Raven, who is a local Wisconsin guy and is an F-class shooter, said first 100 round barrels will first 100 rounds barrel will speed up, develop load after, retest every 200 after that. So,
Well, I'll tell you, you look at the spectrum of information we have just gotten from our audience. It's like there are thousands of man years of experience out there, and they're all and we all just combine and by sharing the knowledge, we improve the knowledge.
Yeah. So Jorgen said it would be interesting to weigh 10 charges, store 5 and 100% relative humidity, 5 in dehumidified, and then load and test velocity to see what your difference would be.
Go ahead, Echo. Please.
Yes, sir. What I was going to say was we get relative humidity inside my house with air conditioning. We've got fairly new insulation and whatnot, doors and windows of relative 60% with the air conditioning running when it's 80 plus, 90 plus % relative outside. We get almost 100% after a rain, because all that hot water comes down and hits all that water comes down, hits the hot streets and turns to humidity instantly. And basically, I can throw a racquetball and land it in the Gulf of Mexico. I live in St. Pete, Florida. So the humidity here is kind of kept at bay by the ocean's winds bringing it off, but it's always relatively saturated. So even when you're outside, you'll get changes in your pressure to where you'll see scale drifts from barometric pressure changes. When we have what he was saying, when the storms come in around 3:30 in the afternoon, it will stop dropping. The barometric pressure will start dropping. And if I'm doing a load series, I'll stop right there and put everything up, because I can watch my scale starting to lose weight on it over about a 30-minute time. You'll see a few tenths of a grain drop off of it, and you're like, okay, I'm going to recalibrate, start over, or do I just stop and then restart back up when I'm at the relative humidity the next day? And that's usually what I do.
Now, that'd be interesting to test Jorgen's theory about by volume, because I don't have that big of a swing. I mean, even when it's 90% humidity outside, it's not over 60 in here, and it's usually I'm in the downstairs area, which is first floor. I don't have a basement, which is a good thing sometimes. So, I mean, it's usually about 45%, but I mean, 45, 50%. But I mean, in the winter, sometimes it goes down to 30% because it gets so dry. So I guess that's one of those things I'd never even really thought about. And maybe when you've got your temperature sensitive loads, and we're talking about when you load it cold and then shoot it hot and it's faster, maybe it's not necessarily the temperature. Maybe when you're loading in the cold, typically your humidity is going to be, at least us in true cold weather areas, humidity is going to be a lot less in your building, because unless you have one of the newer furnaces that actually regulates humidity and actually puts humidity into the air. I mean, during the winter, you can talk about 5, 10, 15, 20% humidity being normal, which is why you're a walking static electricity ball. So maybe that's part of that. But Echo, that'd be fun for you to see if you've got, say, powder dippers, and just make or come up with a way for volumetric, load one of your cases, mark it, and then use that kind of like what the bench press loaders do. And then load up a load during that thunderstorm time and see what happens. That'd be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, compare the two velocities from the lows and see if there's that much discrepancy. Yeah.
See if it's strictly a weight, a charge by weight problem versus a overall charge problem, no matter if you're doing it by weight, by volume. I mean, theoretically, it should still be affected somewhat with volume because you're still changing the burn rate on the powder with the humidity, but I don't know if it'd be as drastic if you're doing it by volume because you're still retaining your powder.
Good question.
Paul Nelson says, you got the bum on tonight? Yeah, Paul, he sent me $5, so I put him on the air since you weren't going to be here.
I upped my Patreon.
There you go. You send me enough money, I'll let you come on the air. So Echo, I mean, is it one of those things that you try and there's a specific time of day you try and do most of your loads, or is it just whenever you get time and then you just kind of work around the daily thunderstorms?
Yeah, I just try to stay away from loading during thunderstorms where high humidity is going to be, playing a part, because even your AC systems here, you'll notice around your vents, you'll notice condensation forming, and that's just because the cold air is coming out and hitting the warm AC vent plate and causing condensation, kind of like a glass of water. And if it's doing it there, it's doing it everywhere. So, like, I don't want to have my safe open during those times either, just for that exact same reason. I don't want condensation just getting, absorbed into the inside of the safe or into powder or into casings, but I am going to pull a casing and do exactly what you told me to do.
Oh, I'm laughing. So Jorgen wants to go, how much does it cost to keep someone off the air? And then Paul Loud's immediate response, be a flooding of Patreon donations if that's an option. John's hand loading.
I'm here to raise money for you, Mike.
Oh, John's hand loading. I quit drinking around 30 years ago. I may have to start again. I quit drinking when I went to bed last night. So Paul Nelson said in his experience, humidity is not a problem unless the powder is exposed to a long term, like say a week. And Mac said Brian Litz, who we were talking about earlier, recommends putting a 50% humidity pack in the powder jug after opening, the kind made for cigar boxes. So, yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about. Is that's what the Chronoplotter blog did a couple of tests actually with some powder in some ball mason jars or mason jars, ball, whatever, because they'll seal tight. And so they did the first test he did 600 grains of powder, H4350. And the first one, there was no desiccant, no desiccant or anything like that. just the control. The second one, he put a desiccant pack in. So like the ones you get like when you get like shoes and crap like that, when it's got the don't eat this silica gel stuff. That's what he's talking about there. The third one, he put a 32% relative humidity humidor pack. The third one, or the fourth one, he put a 65%. And then the fifth one, he put an 84%. So he's labeled them, cranked them tight, and then further sealed them in a Ziploc baggie. Now, the thing he was using are called Kestrel drops, which then hooks up to the Kestrel Link app. And so he could actually, it actually was plotting over time the changing humidity. So like the baseline went up, the one with a desiccant went up, the 32% eventually went down to, this is all just day one. And he said it took a couple of days for everything to stabilize. And then when he was done, 10 days, he pulled everything out. The control was at 53% relative humidity with 599.88 grains of powder weight. The one with the desiccant in it was at 14.7% relative humidity, and it was at 596.22. The 32% was actually at 34.9% relative humidity at 598.16. The 65% humidor pack was at 66.5% relative humidity with 601.34 grains of powder. And then the 84% was 604.68, and it was right on at 84%. So that's kind of a huge change. I guess if you are short on powder, throw a 84% humidity pack in there and let it sit for a couple days, and you get a little more powder out of that. No, that's not a serious recommendation, gang, because it won't burn the same rate. And then he did the same thing later on with a 12-round charge. And then did the same tests and basically got similar results as far as the percent of weight change. Humidity results were a little bit different, which would kind of make a little bit of sense because there isn't as much powder in there. I got one of those too, Jim. See?
Great. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. But we're not
Sharpe's
talking about
got
that right
one
now.
too. Sharpe's got one too. This is a September patch from Patriot Patch Company.
Mm-hmm. So then he went in and he was using a Forster coax. And so he took his experiment too, and he divided each of those into 12 equal portions. So for the control, his charge weight was 41.48. For his desiccant pack, it was 41.22. His 32% humidor was 41.36 grains. His 65% humidor pack was 41.58 grains. And his 84% humidor pack was 41.8 grains. So that's quite a bit of difference in there. The brass was 3 times fired Lapua, large rifle primer. He was using CCR BR2s, the bullets, a 6.5 Berger 130 grain VLD target. He has the same powder dispenser that Nelson has, that FX 120i, with the trickler, power trickler. So he was going through, did the live fire testing. It was 77 degrees out with 62.6 relative humidity. And he was shooting out of a Tikka T3X CTR with a 24-inch barrel. That's Tikka's version of the Ruger Precision. And I like it a lot better, actually. So he used a lab radar for the velocities. He also used as a pressure trace. So that's kind of fun. So for the he went through and shot. He's looking. So I'm looking at experiment 2. That's where he had the 12. So the control group, he had an extreme spread of 45 with a standard deviation of 12.2, average velocity of 2790. With the 82.3 or the 84% humidor pack, he had an extreme spread of 25 with a standard deviation of 6.8, but the speed was lower at 2669. So higher humidity led to lower deviations across the group, but also lower speed. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And then he's got the pressures listed too, but not all of us are running around with pressure testers, so that's kind of a moot point on that. Jim, thoughts?
I'm here.
What are your thoughts?
I'm overwhelmed. Only comment I have is, does anyone know who Brian Litz is? He's the chief ballistician, was the chief, or it may still be the chief ballistician for Burger Bullets. He has a lot to say so about the design of the Burger Bullet.
As far as I know, he's still there, Jim.
Yeah, I believe
I think he is too, but I just in case my information's old.
Wow, you're old, so it makes sense your information's old. I love you too, Jim.
Easy on that old stuff.
Why? How old are you, Echo?
50.
You're only 3 years older than me, shush.
But I agree with you. My Ruger precision rifle.
Yeah.
For a $1,200 rifle, all I have to say is, why is it one MOA? Yeah, that's yeah. There's one thing I was told, Bartland.
Yep. Yeah, that's the nice thing is you can change those barrels out, and I know a lot of people that have. Which gen is your precision? Is it the first gen, or is it actually second or third?
I'm not even sure. I'm trying to remember.
Well, you said you paid $1,200 for it.
Yeah, it was back when I didn't pay that, but that's what they were going for when I got this.
Probably Gen 1. So, I mean, they've made improvements in everything from Gen 1 to Gen 3, but I'm still not going to buy one.
Yeah.
Even the Savages are a better option. So, actually, the Savages, from what I've heard from a couple of people that bought them from us and got out and shot them, the Savages are just amazing. They're shooting half MOA at 500 yards all day long without a problem.
I own one of the new Elite Precisions in the 338 Lapua, Mike. It is a very, very nice rifle. God bless my wife. She's the one that bought it for me for a Christmas present there about 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Because, yeah, those are gorgeous and amazing.
Phil Rabelais, that comment came about the 338 Lapua came from your nemesis, Chris Sharpe. He's
yes,
on
Phil,
the air with us.
I have 2 Lapuas.
Ooh, zing, pow, boom, biff, pow,
So,
And you know, there's someone in the audience asking the question right now, where can we find a wife like that? buy, buy us a rifle that costs that much.
right? Oh, Paul Loud, being the smart aleck he is, blasphemy. Next, you're going to say they loaded the ammo on Lee equipment. It's possible. Don't knock the Lee equipment.
Look at Echo's reloading chamber. Look at the photo that he's got on there. I see at least 5 pieces of Lee equipment. I can't tell what that black press is though.
That black press is a mech, also made in Wisconsin. And that one's on my list to get. Jason's got it, and he actually really likes it. So that's the mech. What is it? The Marksman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It is a really nice press. It's well designed, well built. In worst case scenario, if somebody tries to rob you, you can use it as a bludgeon.
Okay.
Because it weighs a ton. But yeah, I mean, they're really nice presses. They're amazing, especially with how well they're built and how well they operate.
You know, people pick on Lee. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just lamenting at Paul Loud's attempt at a shot.
Yeah, people pick on Lee a lot, but Lee's gotten more people into reloading than all the other companies combined.
Yep.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of Lee. The biggest thing, like this one here, this lovely Loadmaster, I love it, but it's cantankerous. It is not like a 650 or even say Hornady Lock and Load AP Progressive. You're not going to be able to set it on the shelf, walk away, come back 3 months later, put powder in it, and away you go. If you let them sit that long, you're going to have to do a little tweaking when you start back up. But if you're using them regularly, they run like a top. I cranked out 5,000 rounds of 40 on that press without a problem. So now, granted, I also did have it set up by one of the head guys at Lee Reloading, so I cheated. But I mean, there's plenty of videos out there. There's a lot of videos out there on how to set up the Loadmaster so it runs great, and I've had a lot of people that do. So, and they're continually tweaking it. So, I mean, it's not gonna. You're not talking. You're not talking serious, money, but you're also not talking. You're not talking like serious fine precision in some of the stuff, but you're also not talking serious money. So the one thing I will recommend though is don't use Lee's scale. Lee's scale is good, but it's a pain in the ass to learn. The gradient that they use for the half or for the tenths of grains is a slide rule essentially, and it really takes a lot of talent and a lot of practice to get that even. So,
Mike, let's just call it what it is, brother. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
it
partially.
It really is.
I'm sight impaired, and I was like,
you wouldn't be able to use it.
I was like, this is impossible to use. I'm like, how do people use this? And I watch a couple of videos on YouTube, and it shows guys using it, but I'm just like, it's very slow. Mm-hmm. But it will work. It'll drive you nuts using it.
Yeah. I have had other things off my workbench go flying across the garage when I was first learning how to use that stupid thing. Because it is a pain in the ass. And honestly, it's the one thing that Lee probably really needs to look into redesigning. They've got some other stuff they've redesigned. And the new style turret press is amazing. The APP is amazing. But that is one thing they really, really need to look into redesigning. So Paul Nelson said, guys, it depends when he started reloading. When he started, it was RCBS. When Jim started, it was still making your old black powder and a cotton wick. So where that question from Michael? Michael Dunn wants to know, I'm torn between the Lee Value Turret and the Lee Breech Lock Pro. Get the Value Turret. End of conversation. So
Yeah, if you guys check, Titan Reloading's got a fair price on the turret presses. They may still be in stock, but this changes from a daily thing, so check it out. They're a family-owned little business, and they're just right down the street from Lee.
Yep.
So they get
we actually did a live
shipments.
show from there back in the mid 200s with Dennis and Stephanie and the gang.
Yeah, they're nice people.
Oh, they're amazing. So, Michael, are you only loading one caliber ever? And if so, is it rifle? Then yes, go ahead. Get the other, or brain fart. Where'd it go? Good grief. Okay. Let me leave that up there. Okay, so, Michael, the thing is, the Breech Lock Pro is a great scale, or a great press. It's handy. It's nice. It works well. But here's the thing. It's a single stage. That's all it's ever going to be. If you get the Value Turret, they now make an auto indexing option for that. So now you kind of have a backwards progressive. So instead of most super progressives where the shell plate turns, my understanding of how that one works with the Value Turret is the shell plate stays in place, but then the rest of it turns. And so you can still do your progressive style, but I may be wrong. I haven't really played with it. So, but definitely it's one of those that if you're going to choose between the two, I would get the Value Turret just for the flexibility and the availability of being able to change out calibers easily too, because literally it's just a set screw. Pull your dies out, drop your next set in, turn your set screw, and away you go. So Echo, in your picture, which turret is that?
That's the Lee Classic 4-hole cast turret.
Okay.
The press to the left of it is a classic cast O press from Lee. Then you got a bench priming unit and just the deluxe powder thrower.
Mm-hmm.
And then you nailed it, the marksman down on the right. And I've got a coax and a couple other things. But you know what? I keep coming back to this Lee turret.
Yeah.
And I keep getting surprised. Like my concentricity is less than 1,000th on range pickup after going through this press. I'm like, it's just amazing what I get for the amount of money I've spent. And it makes you go back to thinking a lot of it is in technique and actually learning, reloading and teaching yourself over time, the feel, the everything. It plays into it. And it's like they say, a poor craftsman blames his tools.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to agree with that, Echo, because, I mean, you look at the modern rifles that are out today, a lot of the rifles that are factory will outshoot the shooter. So the equipment, you can buy a lot with the equipment, whether it's reloading, rifles, but it's like you're saying, it's the technique. You get out there, you practice, all that good stuff. That's going to be where you make your money, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy 79Z28 Z28 said he's got the Breech Lock Pro. He uses it for pistol and 223. Anything larger he does on his single stage or Lyman All American 8. So, I mean, absolutely. A lot of it is learning. I mean, that's the biggest challenge with some of the Lee stuff is learning how to use it right. And it's not that it's your personal technique for reloading. It's the way they were designed isn't strictly from a engineer that's say for Dillon or for Redding. They don't have that non-cap, I guess. They're not working within a budget. They're not, if they spend, a year, 2 years, 3 years designing, whatever tool or whatever press or whatever stuff like that, and they spend millions and millions of dollars on it, it's not that big of a deal. But with Lee, it still is family owned. The next gen, the kids that are running it are pretty amazing. It was fun talking to them. And so they know their customer. They know what their customer's looking for, and they just make sure that they stay within that market. From the firearms side, think of it like High Point. High Point has a lifetime warranty on it, gang. They know who their niche customer is. To use a euphemism, they stay in their lane, and Lee stays in their lane. And if you look at all the equipment that's come out, they've come out with some really nice stuff, but it's still affordable. So.
Yeah, Mr. Lee, I've actually called there before and gotten an older gentleman on the phone and asked who I was speaking with because they knew the product so well. And he's like, well, this is Mr. Lee. I was like very surprised that you get the owner of the company on the phone, sometimes when you call there. And if you don't get him, you get the woman that works in the front office, and she knows those presses backwards and forwards. It's it's like talking to a tech, because I love it when she says, I get calls all the time and people will say, can I talk to a tech? And I'll go, yes, go ahead. And they'll go, no, is there a man I can speak to? And I'm like, well, there is, but I actually know a little bit more about the presses. And it's pretty funny.
Yeah. She's an amazing woman. Just, it's fun to watch her. I went out, God, this was like second year of the show. I got to go out to Lee and tour the plant and talk to the family and all that. And while I was waiting for Stephanie to get available to come down, I'm just sitting there and watching her answer phone call after phone call after phone call, and she's just giving answer after answer after answer, and she's not looking in books. She's not looking on a computer. She's just pulling it out of the top of her head. She's just an amazing walking collection of knowledge. I mean, it's just amazing. So, but it's not just Lee you get that with. You get that with a lot of the reloading companies. But, we're just talking about that because we like the fact that, Lee's kind of that niche market, and I like Lee because, it's a Wisconsin company. So, and I'm biased. But.
And then there's always your Team Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Can't go wrong with Dillon either.
No, you can't. And that's why there's a 550 sitting here. There's a 650 out in the garage.
Got a 550 behind me.
Yep. So.
Which Double Alpha Academy just came out with a 550 mini case feeder.
Ooh. Ooh.
It's intriguing. I'm like, might have to invest. Have to see if I can run that by the wife and say it's a business expense.
Mike, Travis is out there.
Hey. Hi,
Who's that?
stranger.
God,
Oh,
who's that
hello.
guy? Who is that
Hello,
guy?
you guys.
Hey,
Welcome
move
back.
your mic
Long
down a
time no
little bit.
see.
Sweet. There you go.
There we go.
So, Travis, have you met Chris Sharpe?
I I thought we agreed we were never going to let him on.
He sent me money.
This is what
Oh.
happens, Travis, when you don't have adult supervision on the rest.
See what happens? I'm gone for a little while, and the whole thing just goes to crap.
Yeah, but to offset it, we invited Echo. So
And I brought PayPal.
Perfect. Send that to Buckeye Targets.
Ooh. Hey, Travis.
Yes.
Double Alpha has the Mark 7 on sale for $33.80.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll be right back.
We don't doubt it.
I honestly do want a second one.
I know you do. So
So what have you guys been up to since I've been gone?
well,
Same
Who's
stuff.
this?
Hold on. I got a better question for Jim. Jim, I've been gone for almost a month. Have you done any reloading?
No, I've been working.
Gosh dang. So I got to
Should've-
be gone for another month?
Well, I did buy a rifle.
Did you
Wait.
shoot it?
No. You are embarrassing me, Travis. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Love you. Love your sorry ass too.
I figured I'd come back and you just reloaded a whole pot. See, that's the problem. For all of you in the podcast, you remember the days when Jim was reloading 10,000 of obviously the worst caliber ever created, but his favorite 40 S&W.
It was
But
12,000.
I used to look up to you, Jim. What happened?
They're still out there.
You haven't even. How many of that 10,000 have you shot?
About 1.5, I think.
Well, at least
Jim?
he's shooting him.
I'll just say, Jim, I love you, but you're going to be dead before you go through that 10,000.
No.
You got to start shooting more, bud.
You're right.
Oh my goodness.
So I know Chris, but I do not know Echo's reloading chamber. So how about you introduce me, Mike?
So Echo's reloading chamber is a gentleman that I don't know. He's been joining us for. He's been joining in the chat for a couple of years now. So, and it was just Jim and I, and it was really boring. And so then I don't remember if I made a smart aleck comment about something or other, but then Echo said, "Well, you know, you can send me an invite." So then we sent him an invite, and I sent Chris an invite because we were covering Chris's question. Plus, Chris has a giveaway to announce.
And obviously it was just Jim, and you couldn't do the show with just Jim.
We've done a lot of shows with just Mike and Jim.
Yep.
Oh, I know. Listen, Jim, I've been gone for so long. I just got to get a couple in there right at the beginning, just to make up.
I'm not going to flip you off, Travis, but it's the thought that counts. You know what I mean?
Wait, I've been gone so long. You're not going to flip me off. What has changed in your life that you don't flip me off anymore? You would flip people off at the drop of a hat.
He's mellowed in his old age.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'll hold some. I can. Yeah.
Tell you what, though, you know what you could do? Hold your breath till you have to breathe. Now don't breathe until tomorrow. Gotcha.
So, Jim, Paul Loud says you're probably the only reason that 40 shortened week still exists. Actually, that's not correct because there's still plenty of law enforcement units that are still using it.
You bet.
Now, granted, most of them are in the process of switching them out, but with the current state of the firearms community, it's kind of been slowed down. But that's why we got a crap ton of M&P 40s and Glock 22s and 23s in that are used that we're selling in.
Those departments that haven't switched over, the only reason is because they don't get enough funding.
Yep. So Gerald wants to know what I'm drinking. I am drinking Leinenkugel's Berry Weiss.
Oh, that's right. You live up here in the land of microbrews.
That's not a microbrew.
Never heard of such a thing.
So Leine's is actually owned by Miller, which is owned by Miller Coors, which is owned by God who knows. But Leinenkugels has been making beer since 1870s.
Maybe not a microbrew, but it's certainly not mainstream.
Well, that's because you came from Pennsylvania and West Virginia, where all they drink is Yingling because they don't know any better. That's right. I just ripped on Yingling. I've had it. It's not that impressive. So, anyway. It's kind of like all the people down in Missouri that like Budweiser. It's because it's what they're, so they grew up drinking it, so they liked it. You know. Anyway, that's enough ripping on beers. So, Travis, you missed the big conversation. We were talking about Chris's question, which is talking about, to sum it up, when you open powder and you start loading, and then over the course of that, like say 4-pound keg or 8-pound keg especially, if the humidity level changes in the container, which then changes the humidity level in the powder, how will it affect your loads?
Yeah, and reloaders like me, we usually prefer to buy 8-pound jugs at a time. Where I'm at, humidity, my temperature basically stays constant down here. But obviously, Jim knows. I'm sure I haven't been gone long enough. Jim would hopefully agree with me. Anytime you open a container of powder, you start and break the seal, whatever seal was there, the powder starts degrading. So if you have that open, I don't know how someone else is going to store it, but you should store it in its original container. We've gone over this many times with primers. I believe we've gone over it with powders before, but if it's in the original container and nothing is introduced into that, powder should last. I'm sure Jim's got powder that's older than I am. I know, I'm not even joking. I have used powder that's almost as old as I am. You guys have seen containers of old powder that I've shown you that I have for decoration. Mike, I've sent you containers. Those aren't quite as old as I am, but as long as it's stored properly, I don't see an issue. Like I said, I don't know where you guys have gone with this discussion, but I would think most would agree that if you don't introduce something into that container or allow humidity into it, say leaving the lid off, such like that, I don't see a problem.
Mike, if you would please read the question to Travis so he doesn't miss the point again.
Is this what you sent me, Mike? How it affects your velocity.
He's actually digging up the question. Scrolling back.
Yeah, I'm just going over. He sent it to me. I'm just reading it real quick right now. But yeah, if you have powder and it starts to degrade its integrities, how would it not affect the velocity? You should get. I would assume. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but you should start seeing a drop in velocity.
Exactly.
So, but I could go back as long as it's stored properly. So here's this. This is a question I've asked myself. So you guys, Mike and Jim, you guys seen one time I bought out an older gentleman's whole shotgun reloading supply. I mean, this guy had.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't have to buy any shotgun supplies probably for the rest of my life. I'm not even joking. That's how much I have. So my question was just like we're talking about now, and I guess this is a good thing to go over. I have all this 700X for my shotgun, and that's what I use for the powder for my shells. So it was in a basement just like here, but I don't know how old this stuff is. It was in, I actually have it sitting right here. The powder was in these jugs, these kegs. I'm sure somewhere on here, but there was a whole bunch of these down there. This is what I've been using. A bunch of them were brand new. One of them was open, but I asked myself, what is this? How, compared to brand new powder, this one that's been open for an undisclosed amount of time, has it degraded enough that it affects anything? And I would have to go buy some new and take my cranny out and, load up brand new, you and the older powder, and see what velocity I'm getting out of that. But I just go back to, as long as someone's storing their stuff correctly, I can't see it affecting it that much. Maybe a couple 100 foot per second, worst case, if you just leave it out in your hopper or something. Did you guys go over that? People storing their powder in their hopper when they're reloading and then leaving it in the hopper for weeks or months at a time?
Right.
And Michael Dunn just asked that question in the chat. So do you leave your powder in the dispenser, or do you reload it what you want and then empty it? I know I always empty it after I load what I'm loading and just put it right back in the container.
That's what the powder manufacturers strongly recommend is, as Travis just said, we're talking about a pretty serious reloader. We're talking probably, what, 20K a year, Travis?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, at least.
All right. So we're talking dead experience right there. Dead square experience right there. You store it in the original container. Travis, you're storing that open container right there of 700X. I don't see a thing wrong with it. It's still in an airtight container, particularly in a metal canister like that. However, when you open it, you do introduce a little bit more humidity each time.
Yes.
That's
you gotta,
unavoidable.
right. And like you just said, each time, yes. But also, as you use that powder down, you're also leaving more cavity for humidity and stuff to get in there.
And
I've never even thought about this until you just said that, Jim. But do people have put desiccant packets in powder or something?
It's been known to happen, yes. In fact, Michael, before you came on, Mike even read a bit of some text results of some experiments that were done with 50% desiccant, 75% desiccant, 83% desiccant, and the heavier powder. It seemed like the drier the powder, the higher the velocity they would get. The heavier powder, by that I'm saying they give less volume, same weight. So it's actually more dense. So they're getting less velocity because of the moisture that's inside the molecular structure of the kernel. Well, we all know the water doesn't burn under normal conditions. So that's what in a practical sense, that's what that's what I've been gathering from this whole episode.
Yeah. See, I know Chris, he's more of a precision shooter. I'm more volume. You guys would notice this kind of stuff more than I would, but you'd have to ask yourself a couple questions. One, the average shooter, are you even going to notice? I'm going to guess not. Someone like Chris, if he's going out and shooting long range, keeping track of every single aspect of his reloading, all of his data as he's shooting. Well, we'll get to that one in a second because I always fall back. I trust everything Paul Nelson says. So, but Chris would probably see that way before I would. Like I said, I'm a volume shooter. I highly doubt, honestly, the rest of us would notice either if we lost a couple 100 foot per second. Chris might.
Well, what kind of brought it up this question, Travis, was this weekend I was out shooting for the 300 PRC and getting ready for elk season. I noticed a almost 100 feet per second gain. And I know, as some people brought up in the chat, with barrel break-in, usually about that 150 round mark, you're going to see a speed increase anyway. Well, I'm right around 330 rounds, and I had that jump. And the first shot, I kind of dug the book out, flipped through it, and was like, okay, this is a big increase. No pressure signs, anything like that. So I happened to be watching one of the other channels, Bolt Action Reloading, and they are the one that brought this, how you store your actual powder over long periods of time with the humidity levels. Will it change it? And between him and the gentleman that came up with the chronoplotter software, that he actually did the more in depth, which is the link I shared in the private chat for us, where he saw, as he changed the humidity level, a drop in basically 200 feet per second because of the amount of humidity that the powder absorbed.
Right, and that's going the opposite of what you just said, though, because you saw a gain. So
Right.
so are we talking about maybe your barrel's got a nice fouling in there, copper fouling, allowing it, more lubricity in the barrel, and that's where because like you just mentioned, you break your barrel in, the rifling gets deposits of copper, and that's where you see a lot of that speed increase come from, because we should be going the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
We should be losing instead of gaining.
Well, at first, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, okay, I went over everything, nothing changed. And I just happened to see this video, and it just kind of sparked it. Like, I never thought of this. Would this actually be an issue for somebody? Because I'm only 4 years into hand loading, so I've never really seen a lot of stuff yet.
Jim, you see that 4 years in the hand loading, and look behind the guy.
That's all for the business, Travis. That's not mine. We've already been over this. This is stuff I've ordered for people that finally came in this week. I wish it was mine.
Travis, I have to caution you about the average shooter. The average shooter is the guy that burns a box of rounds in 5 years.
That's the average hunter. The average hunter.
That's the average shooter too. Well, okay, I see what you're trying to doing.
Well,
now,
see here, we have
a distinction between hunting and shooting.
Well, we have, so like at my local gun range, like I'm on the committee out there. We have so many members, and what some of the guys on the board almost rely on for keeping people like not getting overwhelmed, because ours is a private range. We found that the average shooter is the guy who hunts, and he's only coming out, usually we figure 5 times at the most in a year. And 5 is pushing it for a lot of these guys who are the average shooter. When I say average shooter, I'm actually meaning guys hunting, because they'll come out, usually they'll come out a couple times and set their scope up, take a couple shots, and then they'll come back out once or twice more right before they leave to just verify zero, make sure nothing has changed. For me, the average shooter is going to be more like guys like us who go out for fun, shoot on the weekends, shoot a couple 100 rounds. I would say the average shooter would have to shoot more than a box or 2 a year. I'm talking hundreds or preferably thousands to be the average shooter. And then we have a separation as of like Chris or others who are loading precision. They might not shoot 1,000 or 2,000 rounds a year, but everything they do is for a purpose. They take pride in what they're reloading. So they're hand loaders. We've gone over hand loaders and reloaders. So we're all a community, but there is little subdivisions, I feel like, in our community of who's what. You always hear the FUDs fight, what I'm getting at, but we have little divisions. So the average shooter is left open to interpretation, but
Travis Buck, I want to say one thing to you. I'm damn glad you came back, and welcome back, and I mean that.
is it just because I like to ramble on and I don't shut up and I can fill a lot of the voids here?
Well, yeah.
Well, I've missed you guys. I have been working a lot. Just I don't know if anyone's missed me at all or even noticed I've been gone, but I've been working. I've been working a bunch of overtime. I got a new job, so I've been working a bunch of overtime, and I then doing side jobs. The last one, this will go into something that I like and Jim loves. I did some side jobs for our local gun range, and I got a bunch of lead. So I'm hoping I got 11 5-gallon buckets of lead.
You're disgusting. You know that.
For free. And the best part is I had to charge the customer to remove that lead because it's a hazardous material.
Travis?
So I got paid to remove this lead.
Travis?
And
you're going to make me use that F word.
There was so much.
Better not.
If you get to the point where you're just getting so much, you get tired of getting it out. You have to just leave some behind. I left so much behind, but I know where to go get more.
You're disgusting. You're a lead hog. That's what
I was going to say, Travis, is that so you can charge them again to go back out and get more?
It could be if I have to go back for another. Hey, I'm serious. Lead is a hazardous material. You can't just dispose of that in the local landfill. You have
lead
to actually.
Lead dust in the air is a hazardous material.
It definitely is, but lead itself is the hazardous material that I had to charge the customer to remove it, and it just happened to go to my house for safe storage. So hopefully at some point
quit bragging because
melt down some lead ingots, and we'll maybe one day when Jim gets on the saddle again, we can start talking about our favorite topics.
Hey, buddy, you might want to strike Travis's last comment from the whole show, because people from your gun club see this, they're going to be awful upset.
Why would they be upset?
You look at you, pretend like you don't understand the word I'm talking about.
They got a service. They got a new updated range, cleaned up. Don't be jealous, Jim.
I'm all right. That ain't going to happen. I'm green as can be. Go ahead.
All right, enough of that. So Obeon, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, says, doesn't moisture add steam or pressure into the chamber? Not enough. Actually, that was one of the things that he tested, and our echo's back. Dang-nabbit. So he tested that with the different things. And by the way, when Paul said don't use desiccant, that's what he's talking about is desiccant. Jim kind of misspoke when he was talking about what they used. They used humidor packs in 3 of the test samples, not desiccants. They used
my bad. Thank you, Mike.
Yep, they only used desiccant in the 1. The other one were humidor packs, like which you would use for cigars. But anyway, so at the 14.5% relative humidity, which was the desiccant, the average pressure was 54,396. The peak was 55,027. At 83.5% relative humidity, the average pressure was 48,146, and the peak was 48,921. So even though you would think it does not. Because, first off, there's less powder. The powder's not burning at the same rate because of humidity. So it's not generating the full. If you could figure out a way to get all the exact powder in there and have the high humidity, I'd imagine you might see a pressure spike. But no. So Jorgen said the effect of steam is minuscule compared to the 60,000 from the powder combustion. Steam stops expanding at its critical temperature, which is significantly lower. So, yeah, I mean, the steam isn't enough in there to actually make a difference.
Well, just wouldn't it make sense if let's just say you had a container that got contaminated with moisture. Let's just pick I don't even care, flake powder. That flake powder's got bigger surface area, so it's gonna, I would think, I'm gonna just use stupid words, but like swell up. It's gonna absorb the moisture. It's gonna get heavier. It's gonna swell up, so it should take up in your cartridge. It should take up more space in your cartridge. It's gonna weigh heavier. It's gonna be damp. These words I'm going extreme, but just picture worst case, damp. So it should be harder to ignite. The case volume's all wrong, but then it still goes right back. It would, worst case, wouldn't fire, or going up the scale, it would start just having less velocity.
So the biggest issue you have with a higher humidity powder is it weighs the powder down, like you were saying. So therefore, you're not getting as much powder per grain,
right,
of weight. So instead of say your normal 1 pound of powder weighs 7,000 grains, if that's at whatever your set humidity rate is, at a higher humidity rate, it's not going to be 7,000 grains to hit that pound of powder.
Right, so
6,500 or 6,200 or something like that.
Yeah, so we're almost talking two pressure. Like, you would have loss in velocity because, one, your less case volume of powder that you thought you had in there, and plus it's contaminated with moisture, so then you get a velocity drop that way too. So it's like two separate velocity drops almost.
So Echo lives on the Gulf Coast, and so what he has volunteered to do is do a volumetric load. Because he was talking earlier, you'll have to listen back, Travis, but he was talking earlier about, I don't know if you've heard, but the 3 o'clock or 3:30 thunderstorms in Florida are real. It's not a joke. It's not it's not like a hee thing. In the summertime, it's a real everyday occurrence. And so he was talking about he has to plan his loading around that because of the drastic changes in humidity in that time frame, because he has noticed differences. So he was talking about that because it's weight. And as we were explaining, you add humidity to your powder, you're adding water weight to your powder. Mm-hmm. So it changes your weight of your charge. So you're going to mention about volumetric. And so Echo is going to, sometime when he gets a chance, during that time frame when the humidity is changing and like that, he's going to do some volumetric loads and then test those and see if that still has the same or similar effects. It's not going to necessarily have the same because you're not losing your powder weight necessarily. So, so that'll be interesting to find out.
I guess I could see, like, say I live in Idaho. I don't have to worry about stuff like that, but I could see if a guy was in his, because we all know, like Phil, he reloads in his garage. So other guys who possibly reload in the garage, they're suffering from way more dramatic temperature shifts and everything than I do in my basement that's temperature controlled. So I could see if a guy maybe forgot to put his lid on his container. That could be an issue. These are things I actually really haven't thought about until you guys are talking about it right now. But I always dump my powder right back into my container, seal it up, put it on the shelf, and yeah, I keep it dry. And who is it? Which one of you keep your powder dry?
That was Jason.
Yeah, that's
So, um, the thing with your example of taking the lid off and putting it back on, that is depending on humidity. Honestly, that could be enough to affect it. If you're
I would
normally if you're normally
that-
loading in say like a 35 or 40% humidity, and then you get a really hot sticky day and you load, you could change that a little bit.
it's got to be minuscule though, but it's gonna get worse. Even though I say that, it's gonna get worse as powder gets used and there's more airspace and more humidity can get introduced every time you open that lid. Yes, I can see exactly what you're saying. But like I say, it has to be just minuscule. I can't imagine it's affecting it that much versus just straight up moisture or something getting into a container.
It is affecting it enough that you're getting results on the chronograph.
Yeah.
That's what Chris was saying. There's scientific data showing higher humidity levels are reducing the velocity of the load. Not
Yeah,
significant, but not to a significant degree, but still enough that it is noticeable.
Right. But these results you guys are talking about, were they purposely brought on, or this is just the average guy?
No, this was a purposeful test.
Right.
By the gentleman from Chronoplotter.
Right. And so for me, that kind of stuff.
Michael
actually,
Coppola.
I mean, I get where the people are going with that, but in my opinion, you'd almost have to have a real world, lifelong type of a test to see on average what the average guy on a pick a pound, 8 pound, 1 pound, whatever.
Right.
Stuff like that. Because that's what I'm saying. That's got to be minuscule. I mean, I can't imagine Chris opening a pound of powder Monday, and then however long later uses that all up, and from A to B he can say, oh, I lost 200 foot per second from my first reload to my last one. I could see just a tiny bit, but I see where you guys are talking about. But you're talking about tests brought on where things were purposely introduced. And
if you as I was reloading late the other night, and I was reloading with some Winchester 231, and I left the cap off, and woke up the next morning, came in, went over everything, was like, oh man, I left the cap off the powder, I shouldn't have done that. But I loaded some 380 before it, so before I let the cap off, so I'll be able to shoot those over test, and we'll see what one night of 8 hours of being in a 60% relative humidity did to that 1 pound of powder. It was a brand new jug. I opened it up. I loaded 50 rounds of 380 off of it, and I left it out and overnight, so we could take a look to see if there's that much velocity change. Because if there is, then we've got the other side of this story. What about the guys living in Utah where relative humidity is 30%, and every time they open their bottle, they're losing humidity and increasing the burn rate of their powder? Is that, if it does it one way, doesn't it have to go the other way?
yeah, I would say yes.
Echo, I'd love to see that data when you get done.
So if you did that, you would have to, and I would suggest that you would want to do this anyway. If you're just going to, let's say what you just said, 380 round loaded one night, the next night you left the cap open and you loaded another round. You should be able to take the same charge and document it this way also. Just keep track. Volume on round A and round B and see if it has absorbed humidity. It should weigh more. I don't know how much more, but it would theoretically weigh more the second day when that cap was off and it has absorbed humidity, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
It
I
should.
would think so.
It would have
Yeah.
to. So then you can start, you should be able to almost track this by, let's say you leave it off again. It should theoretically keep getting heavier and heavier the longer, your cap is off or however you have it out. Each day it should start growing in weight, and you should be able to track that with the velocity loss per day to correlate those two, that data, to say this much gives me this much velocity, this much moisture absorption in my powder. On day 6, I should be able to target my velocity just by a chart of some sort to see that scale. So if you just shot round A and round B and said, I got this much velocity drop from one round to another, I don't think that's really going to be good enough, because we all know, Jim can attest, Jim can load round A and round B exactly the same. Let's just go, you're doing pistol stuff, so we're just going to stick with that. But you can load round A and round B, what you think is exactly the same, and your crony is still going to show you different velocities. It won't be dead nuts exact. So we have to figure out some better measurement than just going off of velocity off of A and B.
Yeah, I was planning on doing 50 cartridges loaded off a brand new bottle, just freshly opened, and then load 50 more with the powder that's been exposed to 60% relative humidity for 8 hours, and see out of those 50, write each number down, divide it.
Yep.
Yeah, get an average, and then do the next 50, get an average, and see what the difference in the velocities are. Then you could multiply that or divide that to find out how much per hour it sat in that humid environment did I equal to losing velocity.
Perfect. I'm on board with you. That's exactly, you know exactly what you're doing then.
And Travis kind of touched base on what you were talking about with the lack of humidity in your powder. What this guy sums up is at the extreme ends of the scale, high relative humidity slows down the burn rate of his H4350 more significantly than low RH speeds it up. And he goes on to say, drying out the powder doesn't let you achieve, as he says, free velocity. It increases the burn rate to a point.
Yeah, because honestly, the manufacturer, they're giving you a product that's as dry as can be. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. But yeah, it's still an interesting theory to go off of, and I would still think there's got to be something that would, well, because Jim, we've talked about before, kind of an old. I mean, this might be completely different, and that's why I'm asking Jim, because I know Jim knows what this is. What I'm going to say here, but an old sniper trick is they would take their rounds and set them out in the sun to basically heat that up to gain velocity. Correct, Jim?
Yep.
So I'm guess that's not the same as what we're talking about here.
No, it's not quite.
You're not drying out. Yeah, go ahead.
The other trick is you're talking about is shooting in the winter, and they need to get a certain amount of velocity to get that extra 20 yards to be on target. So what they'll do is they'll put it in their pocket inside the coat or something like that.
Under their armpit.
armpit, warming up from 5 below to 95 above, as it were.
Especially if you're using ball powders. If you're using some of the newer extruded powders that have temperature stabilization, like Varget, or I think even H4350 is one of their extreme powders. But they've got a stabilization agent in them to keep them from dropping. So this opens up a whole new can of worms, because now if you introduce humidity into Varget in cold temperature, am I going to see an ignition problem like I do with ball powder in low temperature?
It's entirely possible.
I'll go along with possible, but no one knows. Can you affect powder so significantly that you inhibit burning, inhibit ignition? I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, you'd have to have a lot of humidity, but you would. There's no way you couldn't slow down if any moisture in your powder would affect that burn rate. It would. It just has to, right? There's no way it wouldn't. Even just a slight bit, you like say that's the whole thing we're talking about. Any bit of moisture, you open up. Of course, it's going to have to. Let's say you had a can, a 1 pounder. You open it up, and you all know in the wintertime, if you have a face mask on or something and you're breathing, you get that condensation. So let's say, just for fun, you open up a can of powder, and every day you breathe into it and you put the lid on. You're introducing humidity, you're introducing moisture into that 1 pounder.
That's right.
So let's say you breathe into it, seal it, you put moisture, I don't know how much, but you put moisture in there, the powder's gonna absorb that. So the next day you open it up, the moisture's been absorbed, but you continue to do that every single day for a month. You should see that velocity drop because you've been putting moisture in there every day. And that's literally what we're doing for most of the guys in climates that have humidity. Is they open their thing, humidity goes in there, and they put the lid back on, right? So what we just talked about, you should be able to measure that. You'd have to just waste a pound of powder, but you could just measure blowing into it from day 1 to however long you do this test for, and see how much moisture was actually absorbed. That would be our poor man's test. Some kind of way of introducing moisture, and it would be nice to know exact amount of moisture you add in there from day 1, and do that for a certain amount of time and weigh the powders and see how much moisture this actually absorbed, and then test that powder, fresh batch to the end batch, and test and see what our velocity changes are.
Yeah, it would have to be scientific, because Travis has created a great analogy. It's a very good analogy. I'm not denigrating Travis in any way, but you can't measure how much
Well,
breath.
that's why I said
That's
it would
right.
be nice to have a
Very
way to
good.
measure, but
I agree with you, Travis. There are scientific methods out there, but unfortunately, none of us are
Yeah.
scientists.
So
we reload. That's scientific.
Yeah.
In the blog, they were using Kestrel drops to be able to measure the humidity inside the container while it was sealed. It connects to your iOS or Android via Bluetooth. So that's how they were doing that. I was looking to see if there's other options out there, and doesn't seem to be anything else out there that would be similar. So
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard for a guy to just figure out a way to put a certain amount of humidity in there, because honestly, 1 drop.
you just use
Out
one of the humidor packs like they did in the test. So, and that's how you change your humidity rate.
Yeah, because you have to keep cigars at a certain. You put them inside of a certain wood. I can't remember. My dad used to make them.
Cedar.
Yeah, and it will pull the humidity out of the cigar and cause it to crack. So they put those little humidor things in there to keep humidity into the cigar so that they're pliable.
All right. Anyway, guys, I got to sign off. I will talk to you later. Y'all ramble on, and this has been a great show. Travis, welcome back. I'm quite sincere. You and I have had our moments, and I got one on you. Alox Nation. Anyway, Travis,
Good seeing you,
I'm
Jim.
glad you're back. I hope you can be back on schedule with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Good
Take
night,
care,
Chris.
Jim.
Nice meeting you. Echo, nice meeting you, even though I haven't seen your face.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to pay attention to Jorgen Rangan's comment about your video feed. He thinks you're a sentient reloading press.
Oh, good grief, Jorgen.
Hey, can I choose my sexuality as a reloading press now?
Yes.
Oh he made it 47 genders now. All right, good night, y'all.
Good night.
Hi, Jim.
Take
See ya.
care.
I know, Mike, Gerald had asked a question earlier about primers because he's obviously seen everything I've ordered. Just so people know, that stuff that's sitting over my right shoulder has been on order for the better part of a year and just started coming in about a month ago.
Yeah, so I was going to say, one of our local gun shops posted that they got in primers, and they literally shown a full pallet, and they were letting you buy a case. A case is 5,000 primers, 1,000 primers per sleeve, 5 of them in a case. That's how I used to buy all my primers, by the case, and I think I usually would pay after tax and that anywhere from 160 to 175 ish. They're going for $380 for that same place I was buying them before, but now they're like $380 for that 5,000 primers.
Yeesh.
He has a literal pallet of them. I'm sure he'll sell them, but
I just got information from one of my distributors that I think it was November of this year, we're going to probably see another increase on CCI and federal primers.
Uh-huh.
They're saying double digits.
Yeah, well, dang. See, Mike and I talked about one time, what do you expect the new norm price to be on primers? Jim was commenting he thought this price was high. Mike and I felt like we're in agreement that no, this is probably the new norm, between 60 to $80 per thousand now. I mean, I feel like that's the new norm.
Mm-hmm. Based off what I'm seeing from my pricing, I'm only making about $3 per thousand. And depending on like the BR2s, they're going retail. Most places are retailing those for around 80 to $90. The large rifle Magnum CCIs, they're going for about 65, 70. I think this is the new norm we're going to get into.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, for you use primers. I know you want to help your customers out, so you're not going to do this. But for me, if I was in your situation, I would ask myself, these have been so hard to get. I'm only making $3. Is it really worth me selling them or just keeping them?
Oh, trust me, it's tempting to just say I'm going to keep them, but
when you've been sitting for so long with no primers, and then you have some sitting there and you're only going to make $3, I have a hard time saying, here you go. I know you would, because you're providing a service for a customer. It's for you, it's more than that, but I would look at it like, man, I can't believe I've been waiting so long. I got these primers right here in front of me, and I'm going to let them go and make $3. I would rather keep them. But my thought is, my gun shop had that pallet. So to me, that said, hey, it looks like availability's coming back, or going to be coming back soon enough. So I know that price is inflated. So hopefully I still have enough, but hopefully by the time I need some, we'll be semi back in the flow with stuff, and the price is still going to be high, but not quite that high. I mean, we have a couple stores around that it seems like small pistol primers have been around, but they're getting very little amount, and they're only allowing 1 to 2 packages of 100 at a time. But just like Michael Dunn just commented, I'm seeing at some places $5.99 to $6.99 per 100. So
Yeah, I think I bought some large pistol magnum primers there a few months ago at a local shop because I couldn't get them in, and they were $6.19 per 100.
yeah, and what we're seeing in my area too is it just happens to be small pistol magnum. So it must be a thing. They must have some magnum stored somewhere. They're just dispersing out a couple thousand to all these gun shops, and they're breaking them down to 1 to 2 packs of primers for us guys.
But yeah, like Gerald just asked, thanks for the primer. The stuff's coming back. It's been on back order for so long. It's just trickling in.
Yeah, and the crappy thing, ordering them online, you're going to pay more.
Oh yeah,
and then you have to pay the hazmat, so you're going to pay even more.
And you're restricted to like 1,000 package, and you have to pay hazmat. Now, if your wife and your friend orders 1,000 for you, you got to pay hazmat 3 times to get the primers. And I've been looking, and you're looking at, like, I would say for future reference, a double in primer cost. If you were like, for 41s, I was paying just under $40 for 1,000 of them. You're going to see those probably $65, maybe all the way to $80. And then you're going to see that, and that's just in the future. And it's the inflation. And it's also the fact that a lot of these people that are shop owners are not dealing directly with the factory. They're dealing through RSR and other distributors that are having to make a markup on it to make their bills too. So it's the old capitalism way. If there's limited supply, then that's going to jack the prices up. But in the same turn, if there's a lot of supply and not as much demand, prices drop. And it's because of all the new shooters we have and all of the political things that are going on that are causing this drive on ammunition. And I talked to a friend of mine who works at Hornady, and he says their guys were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They hadn't even planned on taking off Christmas this year, producing factory ammo and components. But they have actually run into some hard to get materials. Copper right now is almost impossible. They're giving it out in limited production amounts. So if you order a metric ton, you might get a quarter metric ton, and they're having to use that for primers and bullets. So that's where it's starting to slow down. And that all has to do with our economy and the way things are being run. And that's just the way it is, kind of, right? For right now, it is.
Yep. It's hard to get copper and brass. Be aware, everybody, of your local meth heads. They'll steal all your copper and brass. Well, that'd be the thing, huh? I have not seen any meth heads on the gun range picking up brass. They'll steal it out of your. They'll steal it right out of your house, but they won't go to the gun range and pick it up.
Yep.
That's because you assembled it all very neatly for them in a box of in a breaker box, and all the plugs. They just go in and rip. My friend had one of those duplexes, but when he bought it, it was one of those sight unseen things. And he bought it, and we went out there to look at it. And I'm like, well, short of just running a D10 dozer through it, I'm like, I don't know, man.
Hey, I gotta say, what's up, Idaho Rogers? Glad to see you.
Howdy, Idaho.
But Chris, where did that comment go? Maybe you already said this. I wasn't around. But Michael Dunn asked, what does Chris do? So if you haven't had an opportunity to say what your new adventure in life is.
Well, I have 2 gigs going on. My day job is I work for the state of Wyoming as a disabled veteran outreach specialist. So I help my fellow vets find employment. And then for some weird reason, I decided to start my own business at the beginning of COVID when all this crunch started going on. So I own my own gun company where I do Cerakoting, custom firearms, all that stuff. And as you can tell, I also sell reloading components for people. So that's basically what I do. And I decided to do it right in the middle of COVID starting out, and great time to do it.
Yeah, Chris had been talking about this, I know, for at least 2 years prior to this. And then, right before COVID, let's go ahead. Let's dive into it.
Yep. Made perfect sense at the time.
But it's like going to war. If you can make it through this, you can make it through anything.
Well, the fun part is now that I have my SOT on top of my Type 7 is not wanting to go buy everything for myself. Because it's so tempting. It's like, ooh, let's bring this in as a demo. Let's bring this in. But then I got to pay taxes on stuff that's sitting on my books.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, take it from a guy that used to be 50% owner of a manufacturing shop. Run the first 5 years, take everything you earn and put it right back into the company. Yep. And after those 5 years, you'll be at a stable part where you can actually make a living off your business without worrying, going from, paying bill to bill. And that's where I noticed that 5 years, it was a total change. Everything changed. I started seeing a lot more just where was all this cash coming from? I was like, I looked like I just robbed a bank. I was like, and then, but it's hard not to go nuts and to go out and start buying things or building stuff. That's my problem. I was like thinking class 3, I can build something right now. I can fill out a form and just build my own fully automatic 3rd pin gun. And you just got to be careful. And I didn't even buy a magazine because I knew I bought tools because I could write them off and things for the customers. I did not spend a darn penny.
And that's what I've been doing is basically stuff for the shop out back and, the components here for customers. I put a lot of my personal endeavors on hold to just get this stuff going.
Yeah, God bless you for doing it. But if you can make it through these times and learn to do it here, it'll be a lot easier when things settle down. And you can literally talk to Travis, because things have gotten hard on business owners. I mean, extremely hard. And if you can tighten and make it through this, you won't have a problem in regular times where we don't have a pandemic going on.
Yeah, I know for me, steel has gone through the roof on AR 500 plate. It's just, it costs more to get it. Everything just costs more. So yeah, if you can make it through this, and say we've been friends with Chris, since the beginning. I can't remember how long Chris has been around, but he's been talking about this for years. And
well, I discovered you guys when I started my reloading whole thing about 4 years ago, and I just stumbled across by doing a search for podcasts, and here we are.
Well, I know you didn't just jump into this either. Is what I was going to say is you didn't jump into this. We've been friends with you for so long, and you always talked about, hey, eventually I want to do this. So you've researched, you took into account all kinds of stuff. So I know you didn't just jump into this. You planned it. I feel like you probably did it 100% the right way, just from the interactions we've had over the years.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. I did the same thing even when I started hand loading. Is before I bought that Forester, I probably researched a good 6 months before I started buying stuff because I want to make sure I did it right the first time. And I mean, I fully agree that you buy what you can at the time if you want to do something. But I wanted to make sure I didn't. It's that cry once, buy once type thing.
That's my motto right there. But real quick, Michael Dunn asked another question. He was talking about depriming. What do we do with our spent primers? We've talked about this before. Well, I don't just throw them away. save them for whatever you want to save them for, but at least save them and build them up and recycle them at least, and then reinvest that into more. Because I save all my primers and I fill up. I think this is a 2.5 gallon bucket that I have sitting over there. When that gets full, then I take that to the recycling place and I get whatever the value is at brass at the time. And then I just go back and buy more reloading stuff with that. But Chris, what is your shop name?
My shop and company name is Backcountry Arms. So you can find us at backcountryarms.com.
Where are you located, Chris?
Just outside of Casper, Wyoming.
Do you have a shop that people could come into and purchase things from you?
I'm not set up that way, but I do have a shop out back. And that's where I do a lot of the Cerakoting and the gun work out there. But I keep a lot of the more expensive stuff in here. That way guys will come in, just show up, I bring it to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
And-
well, yeah, just a little information out there so that people know how to get in touch with you and how you do business.
Yeah, if you shoot me an email at backcountryarms@gmail.com or go to the website, I'll get to you as soon as I can. I'm pretty quick at trying to get back. And I've had people, even friends that are in, say, Cheyenne, call me up. Hey, I saw this rifle over at, this store. Is this a good price? I have no problem. I'll even price check for stuff for you and tell you if it's spot on or if they're like, no, run, they're gouging you.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, I want somebody to be happy with the purchase they buy. So whether they buy it from me or somebody else, if they're going to be happy with the deal they're getting, great.
So I forgot to mention this earlier. I got this in the mail this week. So I got to figure out where I'm going to put it and then use it. So I'll let everybody know how it goes. One of the things we heard about these things was supposedly the spring brakes, but I don't know. I'll put it through at paces and find out. So I'm also going to figure out if you can, excuse me, if you can unload handgun with it, even though it's not designed for it. So I'll let you know about that too. So Chris, oh yeah, Echo, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Mike, I was just going to ask you about that. Is that Frankfurt Arsenal kinetic bullet puller?
Yes.
Okay. Are you married?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, though, I wasn't busting him. I'm just telling him your wife is gonna enjoy the sound that thing makes.
I know how much. I know how noisy it is.
They don't call it the pile driver for nothing.
Yeah, I know how noisy it is. I played with it at SHOT. So yeah, that's the problem, is figuring out where I'm going to put it so I can use it without getting shot. So yeah,
she's gonna tell you to put a 4x4 post out in the backyard.
that's what may happen. That's just what may happen. So I'll have to make like a quick disconnect on the 4x4 or something or other. But
she'll just put a motion light on top of it so she
That's
knows
right.
when you're out there.
So, but for those of you who don't know, one of the nice things about this, it does have a little catch thing that it comes with. Otherwise, there is a nib on here, so you can run a hose down to like a bucket, and so your powder and your bullet's going to come down through here, so you can just do that to save it. So, and basically you just put the cartridge in here and then it slams down. So that's why I'm going to check and see if I can do any pistol cartridges with it just for fun. So I'll let you know on that. But yeah, it's pretty noisy. So that's going to be the challenge, is finding somewhere I can put it where I can keep using it, shall we say. So without getting shot. But so I'll keep everybody updated on that. Now, Chris, you were showing something off too. So Chris wants to give that away to one of our listeners.
That is a good one too. We've got some videos on our channel of that exact universal bullet seating die from Frankfurt Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And for the price, you can't beat that. I feel like that is an awesome universal. I use that in quotes. You have to watch our videos, but it's a very good seating die, and that's very nice that Chris is offering to give one away.
That's awesome, Chris. Those are almost the spitting duplicate of an RCBS Matchmaster die. If you take those dies apart and look at the internals, they look almost identical with slight cosmetic differences. And that die works really well.
Yeah, function wise, I have some of those RCBS Matchmaster dies sitting over there. Function wise, yeah, they're very, very identical. Just a little bit of cosmetic difference, but for the price, it's got a micrometer. It have 2 or 3 different seating stems. I think it has 3. It does have some limitations on some of the stems and some of the bushings that it comes with. I was hoping by now that Frankfurt Arsenal would come out with some add-ons you could purchase for that price. You could literally get that whole setup that Chris has right there. For that price, you could buy just one of a different manufacturer's micrometer seating die. But with that one, you get, I believe it goes down to 22 cal up to, what's the highest it goes?
338.
338. So it's got, what is it, 6 or 8 bushings comes with it.
I just pulled it out.
So it comes with eight bushings. It's got the 3 stems. It actually comes with 9 bushings because Chris, you have one in the die itself. And I love that. When I have to pull, just do some random stuff, that's the one I reach for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd been thinking about this a while since I started the company. And I was like, if I hit a point where I'm starting to do all right and starting to see upward trend in my business, I figured it's the least I could do with all the help that I've been given from you, Mike, Paul, Jim, everybody, even Phil, even though he doesn't have a Lapua yet, but
or a 4-wheel drive truck.
Yeah, or a 4-wheel drive. But I figured it's the least I could do. I mean, I actually purchased this out of my own money, not the business, and I was like, you know what? Let's do this. It's the least I can do.
Chris, how do you want to give that away? What are people, listeners, viewers? How do you want to do this?
Mike and I were discussing that. I told him it's, if they wanted, like you guys have done in the past, whether it's commenting on Instagram or this, or it's up to you guys how you want to do it. And I told him, just let me know and give me the contact information for whoever wins it, and I'll send it directly from the company. And here you go.
All right. So, what's John W. talking about?
So if you look up what we were just talking about, Idaho asked if anyone has heard any updates on that new Frankfurt Arsenal 10X press.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, Frankfurt Arsenal's progressive press that had 10 stations. So I was super excited. I was on the list. Like, as soon as it came out, I got on that list to, when it was available, to get one. Mm-hmm. And I haven't actually checked up on it. So Idaho asked that. I said I haven't heard anything. So
yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so he's just letting us know that apparently it's not on the site anymore. So who knows what happened? Because I think they were going to release it this year, 4th quarter.
It's actually still on the site. They've got it listed with the case feeder for $10.99. And the last time I talked to them, probably 4 months ago. They said it was going to be the end of this year.
John W., how could you give us false info? This way. Just kidding.
They did move it out because I noticed they had changed because it originally didn't have the case feeder, and then it popped up in the last month or so with the case feeder and a big change in price up to $10.99.
Yeah, that was not. I think it was almost half that when
I think it was
first
originally like $600-700.
I think it was 690, 650, somewhere around there. But maybe you can answer this one then, Chris. So Nick told me, I never seen this. I looked for it, I could never see it, but he said that Frankfurt was releasing some kind of, it was for pistol, I believe, and it was a powder throw, and somehow you'd put 50 cases in this thing and it would load all 50 cases at once. We'd have to ask Nick more about that, but he said he's seen it on Frankfurt's site. He tried showing us. I couldn't see it. And by the face you just made, you haven't heard about this either.
Well, let's see. They got a new benchtop powder measure coming out.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Mike, did you ever pull the trigger on that IntelliDropper?
Yeah, it's coming later this week.
Nice.
Um,
I like
Along
it enough. I want a second one.
along with a listener giveaway one from Drew in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully later this week anyway. I don't know. They're taking
Yeah,
their
you'd
sweet
have to
time.
ask Nick there, Travis, because I don't see anything on that anywhere.
Yeah,
So anyway, but so yeah, I think that about covers that. Let's go take a look at primary arms, see what we got going on. Ooh, they got snap caps in stock. That's an important thing to have. I wonder.
Yeah, it's somebody in the in the tech department. They're like, "Hey, we can't seem to sell. We don't have any bullets to sell, but we've got these little red bullets. We could sell these. Let's just." Somebody says on there is like that. We'll just sell these.
That's right.
Hey, real quick before I forget, going back to your business, Chris,
Mhm.
do you have an Instagram page specifically for your business?
Yes, I do. I did start the Backcountry Arms Instagram page. I just haven't had a chance to post anything yet on it because I'm waiting to finish up a few Cerakote projects to get that stuff up. Because
So
I think
you-
that's where I'll do a lot of the money I'll make is.
Right. So you do have one, so anybody can go over there and like your page.
Mhm.
So just my thoughts, if people want to get in on this giveaway, I feel like we should push some people to get your Instagram following up.
I agree.
So somehow we're going to have to figure out if you guys want to get in on this, you should go to his Instagram page, like it, and leave a comment that you heard this on the Reloading Podcast. And that's how we would pull the winner is from his Instagram.
I like that idea. That is marvelous.
So once again, Chris, because we do have people watching now, but most of our viewership actually comes from listeners. So for those listening that want to get in on this giveaway, tell us at least one more time what your Instagram page is. And
You're going to make me have to look this up. I know my personal one is Chris_Sharpe_YO.
yes, but we want them to go to your business.
Yeah, I know. Why? It won't let me bring it up. Oh, you bugger.
Well, I'll look myself real quick, but it should be Backcountry Arms.
Yes, it should be. I don't know why it's not coming up. I probably forgot to hit save. There we go. Okay, it is Backcountry Arms. Yep. I've actually got 41 followers, 27 following. Yep, there we go.
Hey, I'm one of your followers. How about that?
Yes, you are. Even Travis is there with Buckeye Targets.
Chris, what's your channel name on YouTube?
Well, now you guys are really getting me now.
Man, we're trying to promote your company. Get with
That's
it.
right.
Didn't jump on here to work.
Too bad.
Hey, you're self-employed now. You don't have a schedule. It's just 24/7.
Yep. Wow, both Reloading Podcast, and I personally follow you, Chris.
Yeah, so just make sure for
There's
you
no
guys.
posts. Come on, get with the
Well,
program.
This is why it's actually good, because this will be the start. So, but Chris, you're gonna have to put a post up, and I suggest you maybe take a picture of that that Frankfurt Arsenal Universal Seating die. So if people come across it, they know that they found it, and then our listeners just make a comment, just anything, just as long as it says something about the podcast, reloading, something that Chris can look at and say, oh, these guys are commenting because they've seen or heard this on Reloading Podcast. And then after, we'll have to pick how long we want this to run for, and then Chris will pick a winner off of those posts.
I will actually have a picture posted by tomorrow. I'll make sure I do that.
And this is good because this will be your first one, that will be a way to track.
Mm-hmm.
So it is Backcountry Arms, and that is Chris Sharpe's business, and it's got a cool picture on there, and it will have a post of that Universal Seating die. So go over there and comment.
Awesome.
And while you're there, sign up for to follow.
Yeah, you have to follow and leave a comment.
Yep, follow and comment. So one of the things that we're getting a lot of nowadays is fancier toys to go with our shooting stuff. And some of those fancier toys take batteries. Well, one of the goofy batteries is that 18650. Surefire uses them a lot in their flashlights, but there's quite a few other things that use them. Primary Arms actually stocks them, and they have a micro USB rechargeable lithium ion one for $16 on sale right now. So that's actually a pretty good deal for those, because usually the rechargeable ones are a little more money. So, but they carry a lot of batteries. So make sure you swing by and get your battery needs taken care of at Primary Arms as well. Oh my goodness, Idaho.
No, I don't think I have any. I can't afford that, Idaho. Sorry.
No. Oh, good grief. So, well, I think that's about it for tonight. Echo, thanks for joining us. Chris, thanks for joining us. You're both welcome back anytime.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, brother. We appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's awesome. One of the things that I've always tried to do with this show, and I love with this show, is we never claim to be the only answer in town, and we don't want to be. In fact, we love being able to share our platform with other people who bring knowledge to the table. So that's awesome. And it's one of the things I love about the chat is we have a lot of people that pop in and out. Echo's one of them. John's hand loading, Chico Wise off the top of my head, even just the regulars, Idaho and Michael Dunn, some of the other ones that are just hopping in regularly, that bring all sorts of information to the table. So, and that's one of the cool things that we love.
Yeah, Chris, just so you know, I am available to show off that cedar die.
Are you shaving your legs first at least? Because the last time you didn't shave your legs, and we got feedback on that, all right?
And the pumps didn't work either.
No.
Maybe
No.
a pair of high heels, but not pumps.
No,
I
don't
thought
do
the
pumps.
pink tutu was a nice touch, though.
It
Yeah,
was.
it was
It
so
really
90s.
was.
It was
Man,
just so 90s, though.
I try my best, and everyone's a critic.
Yep. Oh.
Oh, hell.
All right, gang. I want to thank Echo and Chris for joining us live tonight as part of the panel. I want to thank all the regular panel members. Like I said, Travis is back, so that's awesome. Sharenda's struggling with work as usual. So was Nick tonight. So was Ray. Paul and Jason are both interstate moving, so that's kind of a big to do. So not only do they have to get moved, then they have to figure out where the heck they're going to set up their computers and all of that. And obviously, that's lower on their priority list right now. So it may be a little while before we see those two gentlemen back. But, you know, Paul did join the chat for a bit. So if you have questions, send us an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media. We are on Facebook. We are on MeWe. We are on Discord. We are on Instagram. We're not on Twitter because whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not doing all of them.
I'm not doing Twitter either.
No. Twitter isn't really a practical for us. It never really was, never is. So I finally posted episode 352. I should get 353 later this week. So, and working on getting caught up on those. It's just been brutal, but things are starting to get a little better. So, just great patience to everybody that listens and listens to the audio versions of this and has been patiently waiting. So, huge shout out. A huge shout out to everybody that tunes in every week and joins us for the live chat. Brings the humor, brings the information, brings the questions. We just greatly appreciate it. If you've got questions and you've got more than one, hop in the chat. Because if we can't answer it while we're on air, I guarantee you at least 4 or 5 people in the chat are going to answer it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
Oh,
and
hey,
I'd like to start doing more videos on reviews or whatever, but I'd like to get some suggestions because I was posting 3-gun videos for a while and didn't seem to get as much traction as I thought it would. That's something I loved, but that's why I haven't posted any lately. But if there's some reloading topics or some kind of product people want us to review, you should just let us know so we can at least try to bring that to you guys.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, and for John W., I do have a YouTube channel. It's Backcountry Arms. So I'll also do a quick little video saying we're giving this away. So that way you can comment on either platform.
Awesome.
Yeah, so remember, go to Instagram, like and follow Backcountry Arms, leave a comment.
Indeed.
You might actually get double points if you comment. Phil does not have a 338 Lapua.
I may have to pick up more of these and give them to everybody that does that. And send a set of Lapua dies to Phil personally.
There you go. Idaho Rogers USMC said he misses the 3-gun video dice, Travis, or videos.
Well,
Travis.
Apparently he's the only one.
So they were
I
fun to
actually
watch.
enjoyed those videos. Those were really good videos.
Just don't have time to watch a lot of videos. So Nick says hopefully back next week. So that sounds good. Other than that, gang, huge shout out to all of our Patreons who keep supporting us. And just thanks to everybody that continues to support the podcast over the years. So, and continues to help keep it fresh and new and not old and stale. Because, I mean, this is 8 years now and we still are having fun with what we're doing. So, speaking of Chico Weiss, he must have heard us say his name and magically popped in. Hi, Chico. Bye, Chico. What is it? Georgia's Shooting Connection?
Yes.
They do. Friday nights, Chico Wise and a couple other guys do an awesome podcast / YouTube video.
8 p.m. Sorry, Mike. I was just
No, go
going to
ahead.
give you the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it comes on at 8 p.m. Eastern. Eastern Daylight Time, I guess is what it is right now, and that's every Friday. And
Yeah.
Jamie, JH586, Chico, Kyle Lusk, and sometimes Willie the Bullet Man comes on there, and a few others.
It's just they have all sorts of guests on. It's just an awesome place just to check out, hang out, check out what they got going on, and just information wise, it's an amazing place. So make sure you stop by, check them out, give them a like, give them some love. So Echo, you got to get me your links for your YouTube so I can make sure they make it into the show notes, so we can get people to go visit you.
Yeah, not a problem. I will gladly give you all that information and
but
help
his
promote.
YouTube channel's easy to find, kids. It's Echo's Reloading Chamber, and it pops right up. So
Yes, thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it, brother. Travis, hope you do very good this year with your endeavors, with your targets. And Chris, always glad to have another shop on board doing Second Amendment and firearm sales and equipment.
you betcha. Never have too many of those.
Nope.
So, all right, gang. On that note, Chris and Echo, if you have a tagline to say, feel free. Obviously, mine is keep your brass shiny.
Shoot smarter, not harder. If you have a question about reloading or firearms, reach out and ask.
It's not a matter of if, but when.
The 44 Magnum is the most powerful handgun cartridge in the world. And did I shoot 5 or did I shoot 6? And in the hail of bullets, I kind of lost track myself. So, punk, what do you say? Do you feel lucky? Do you, punk?
I think that's been the best tagline yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Paul's is pretty good. Even though your mother doesn't agree, your grandpa's right. Violence does solve some problems.
Yes.
Hey, John W., it's Backcountry Arms, the YouTube channel, just so you know.
Ooh. Hey, gang, guess what? This might do handgun loads.
Ooh.
I might be able to decap, I might be able to unload handgun. That's a 9mm in there.
Ah.
I found out you can't shove a 7 rem mag through the standard Colette though. 30-06 is the biggest that'll go. So I had to take it apart and put it back together. Sharenda, the poor woman, needs 7 rem mag to do this test on this rifle. I've got 7 rem mag that I came across, but they're reloads and they're not my reloads. So I was going to pop them apart and then send her the prime brass and the bullet, but that didn't work. So, and I didn't buy the Magnum because I didn't think I would need it at this current point in time, but I guess I'm going to have to,
Hey, Mike, did you ever find some 30-30 brass?
I found a little bit, not a lot yet. I think I have 60 or more around here, but I'm not sure. Ooh, shiny.
50 brand new ones. If you need them, let me know.
I will. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've got 60 of them around here somewhere. I think they're in a tote over in that mess. Probably the same place that my Lyman power cord is.
Well, Mike, get with me. I remember you saying something about going on an endeavor of 30-30. I also want to go down that endeavor. I've got bags of 30-30 brass and would love to accompany you along this journey.
So you
And
need to get
I'm
yourself some of
game for
these.
that as well, because that's what I just started playing with. I got 2 different bullets I want to play around with.
160 grain FTX.
I think I have those on my shelf over there too.
Yep.
So,
So,
all right, fellers.
all right, gang. Last but not least, just remember, if you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255. They are professionals. They also are confidential, Lord, or for crying out loud. They are there to help. If you're struggling, give them a call. It is not weakness to reach out for help when you need it. It is weakness to stay in the shadows and hide. It takes courage and strength to be able to reach out and admit you need help. So that is a huge thing, and we need to change that stigma in this country and this world, for that matter. If you need the help, call them. They're there 24/7, 365. So 1-800-273-8255. We need you here. So make sure you call. Thanks, everyone.
Night.